Hey everybody. So I've been asked, how do you extrude a polygon surface along a NURBS curve? And I'm here to show you how to do that. So to start off with, we're going to use a NURBS curve. So I need to create a NURBS curve. So under Create, Curves Tools, I'm going to create an EP tool or EP Curve tool. So I'm going to lock down some anchor points. I'm going to click a couple times, create a simple curve, and then hit Enter. And there's my curve. I'm going to extrude my polygon surface over top of. So to use the surface I'm going to use is a simple end cap from a cylinder. So I created one earlier. I'm going to extrude a cylindrical shape over top of a NURBS curve. So this is going to be like if you want to make a pipe or a hose, rubber hose, extension cord, anything like that. I'm going to create a hose shape. I'm going to use the end cap that I created earlier from a cylinder, a primitive cylinder. So remember, just make sure you delete all the inners. We just want the end cap only. Now remember, a NURBS polygon surface has only one side. There's with the back face culling turned off, you can see two sides, and that's kind of false telling you that there's two sides. With back face culling turned on, it forces to show only what the real surface side is, which side the normals are pointing. So with back face culling on, I can see the normals are pointing up on this surface. That's the first thing you want to make sure. You want to make sure your geometry is clean and it's not made of a lot of other geometry. The other thing we want to make sure of is we want to be starting our extrusion at the start of our NURBS curve. So NURBS curves have a starting point and an end point. So if you go into the CVs or the control points for a NURBS surface, you'll see if we go to one end, you'll see there's solid dots indicating that's the end of our NURBS curve. And then if I go to the beginning, you should see a red square or red cube outline or a stroked line. That's indicating the start of the curve. So this is the starting side. We want to extrude from the starting side of our curve. So I'll go back and select my polygon shape, and I'm going to snap it to the starting point of our curve, and then I'm going to back it off a little bit. So I'm going to select the shape and then the vertice and snap it using the V key, snapping vertices. And I'm going to snap my cap to the end of our curve. I'm going to line it up so it's more or less perpendicular to the curve. And then I'm going to back it off just a little bit. You want to be careful not to overlap the curve because it might get confused and it might not know exactly what you're doing if you're overlapping the curve. So you want to just back it off just a little bit off of the very starting point of this curve. So in this process, we're going to be selecting the faces on our polygon surface, and then we're going to shift select the curve. So with my end cap selected, I'm going to go to face selection, marquee select all the faces I want to extrude along a curve, and then if I go into hypergraph to see what's in my scene very easily, I can see where the curve is. So I've got the faces selected on the end cap, then I'm going to hold the shift key down, shift select the curve. So we have two things selected, the faces and the curve. Now I'm going to go to Edit Mesh and simply select Extrude. Now initially you might see this happen. You might see it extrude from the starting point to the end point. That is very common. That's what the default settings will do for your extrusion. To fix this or to make this look better, to look like it's running along the curve, we want to go to the channel box, and if we scroll down, make sure you still have your extrusion selected. Make sure you don't deselect your extrusion. In the channel box, go all the way to the bottom where it says divisions. I'm going to increase the divisions on my extrusion. Watch what happens here. It's at default, it's at 1. So now as we add divisions, we give the surface more information or more detail to hug the curve. Now mine is maxing out at 25 divisions, so if I manually place, let's say 50 divisions, Now we have a little bit more divisions, a little more resolution to our geometry to better contour to that curve. Now you can see our hose is following the curve. We're getting some overlap, and that's because the curve is so sharp and our extrusion shape was so large, it's overlapping. So if you have a smaller initial starting shape, you shouldn't see this kind of overlapping. So it's just a matter of dialing in and tweaking your initial shape to minimize any of this overlap. But it's very easy to fix. So that is basically how you do it. You just want to use our polygon shapes and a NURBS curve. Good luck, everybody. Have a good day.